Perfect. Just heard the recording has started. Welcome for today's CS-Sensei's group for today. Chris, this is me, Christopher Oxford, and my agenda today for this group is having time just to discuss what's going on in your journeys and see what's happening and what you're working on. And we'll talk about time management today and how to find start off with a calendar, have some set goals, and then figuring out your why and the way to go about your why. And we'll talk about the experience plugs with our incident response group and our speakers bureau. So agenda is great for today, and I'll start off with our mentee time. And this time is appropriate to go by one, to see where you are in your journey and if you have any success, failures, anything you want to relay about your week. This is the time on the floor, and I'll open the volunteers first. I think Twyla, you want to start. Yeah.
Well, this week was very exciting for me. I did my first reports this week, so I was excited.
Is that the reports on the incident response?
Yes.
Okay. Did you track them up with Scotty yet? On our
response, I was talking about the fraud.
Oh, the fraud. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Did you put it on our report form?
Oh, what a report form is.
Uh-oh. Let me. I'll put the link in our chat.
Oh.
Yes, please.
I thought it automatically goes to y'all. I don't know.
That's fine. No, we're gonna put the link up on the chat, and we can go ahead and report it there. And we have our first set of for September. So, thank you, Twyla.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And that's all. I'll go ahead a little bit on the agenda and say that's one way to get experience in our group is having the spam emails being reported to the Federal Trade Commission and tracking them in our logs. And when you track them on our logs, you get to label that as experience on your resume. And working with incident response skills. That'd be just a great way to get experience for your first job. And please continue doing it. Melanie was our champion last year, and we recognize people each month who's our top incident responder. And Scotty just put them on the chat if you need to get the links out from there. Thank you, Scotty. And thank you, Twyla, for sharing. Anything else going on, Twyla?
No, sir. That's about it. That was the highlight of my week.
Okay, cool. No problem. All right. Ron, Melanie, you want to share this week?
Well, I took the exam for the CC for the ISC score yesterday.
Cool.
And, I passed.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you going to go ahead and give ISC Squared $50 and be a member?
Yeah. I think they sent me an email. I got to fill out the application.
Yeah. That is a great resource. You get to collect the continuing education requirements just by listening to a webinar. That's one option. They also have skill builders now with different skills. Cloud security is one of them. Risk management. You go on ISC Squared, there's a bunch of additional skills you can learn. Some of them will help prepare you for more advanced certifications like SSCP for practitioners and the much coveted CISSP that a lot of the advertisements, the HRs are asking for the CISSP certifications, and it's 5 years experience to be, I won't say qualified for it, but it's recommended to have 5 years in order to be fully certified. You can pass the test, but then you have to be associate of ISC Squared or associate of the CISSP, and then you have to find somebody to vouch for you from there. But that $50 is good to have more for continuing education to see what the industry is all about, and also to have a extra set of skill builders that ISC Squared sponsors, and they provide some great instructors there for that price for the year. So congratulations, Ron.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Melanie, you're awfully quiet.
Yeah, it's the morning, so this week usually I haven't done any reports so far for September, but I'm going to do some tomorrow because Sunday is like my day to get things done. That's usually when I sit down and do some reports, because I did get a few, like, I get a lot of like spam text messages too. And then I'm probably going to start looking over, I was planning on taking, I have the A+ exam, or my A+ certification, so I'm probably going to start looking over material for either Security Plus or I guess the CISSP, start looking over study material for that. And
okay. This is going to be a good leadway over to my topic for today, which is time management. Do you have an idea where do you want to end up when you think about this at all, or have you been looking at job advertisements?
I haven't just yet. So I'm doing help desk right now, and then was interested in cybersecurity, which is why I joined this program.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I think the next step would probably be to take another certification, and then see what kind of job. Yeah, I guess I could start looking at jobs now, just to see what's out there.
I'm actually going to put a website that I've posted before on our CS-Sensei Facebook page. This may help you in making a determination of what your next step would be. It's called cyberseek.org. And I don't know if you're familiar with that website or not, but if you are, please let me know. But cyberseek.org, they take research from CompTIA and Bright Talk. They go through LinkedIn, Indeed, and combine all this data, and they show a pathway of, hey, if you start out in technical support, which is help desk, here's how you can get to cybersecurity engineer or get your first entry-level job in cybersecurity, which is, if I remember correctly, cybersecurity analyst, incident response, IT auditor, and there's one more that it's not coming to my mind right now. It's probably crime or fraud analyst. Those 4 positions are considered entry-level roles, and what they do is they combine all the data of all the requirements, and they tell you, hey, here's the top certifications that you need for this position. Here's the titles that you look for that area, and what you need for degrees for colleges. And they also tell you the skills that you need, that you can plug those skills in on LinkedIn or your favorite training platform or YouTube, and you can learn about those skills and add them up to your resume from there. And if it helps, cyberseek.org, I put the website in the chat. That may assist you in making a decision. And
all right, thank you. I'll take a look at that. I've never heard of it, but I'll take a look at that after we go.
It also shows a heat map of all the jobs available in the 50 states, and sometimes every now and then Scotty will come in and reference it of, hey, in Arizona, this is what they're looking for, and it gives you an idea where the jobs are, because it's not necessarily is what is available, it is where they are available as well.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm outside of DC too, so I'm sure there's plenty of those jobs here.
Yeah. Okay. So what I want to get into today with you, and I don't have a PowerPoint presentation to sort of say, a few weeks ago, I did a presentation about setting goals and helping you finding your first cybersecurity position. What I want to talk about is time management, because I believe a lot of us here are not only just employed already, but also doing school, and and probably have a family to feed, or you need to take care of yourself from there. And one of the things I want to one of the things I want to talk about is, hey, you have this goal in mind of what you want to do to get into an entry-level role in cybersecurity. The question is how and when. And one of the things I would suggest to the mentees here is not only when you write your goals down, you want to break them up into smaller tasks. For example, I want to be a cybersecurity analyst within the next year, 1 to 3 years. And you go through, one of the smaller tasks you could do is go on the job board and see what the employers are asking for. It would help you with making better choices in your training and getting certifications. You'll end up getting a good, brighter picture of what you need to do. So as a cybersecurity analyst, if you look up on LinkedIn, you'll probably see some requirements that says, hey, we would like to have somebody with a Security Plus. Okay, maybe that's your idea to go ahead and start looking at, is Security Plus the right decision to make for you? One of the things I want to tell you all is once you make those smaller tasks, you want to put it on your calendar. And that calendar, your calendar, will help you figure out what's the more busy days or the more packed weeks versus where you can find openings to find time to study and work your way towards getting toward your entry-level job. And maybe a question I'll pose out to the mentee group is, first off, do you have a calendar? It could be digital or it could be physical. And second off, how much do you use it? I'll put that out to the floor.
Hey, I have a calendar, but yeah, I just don't really use it too much unless it's like a major event. I just kind of plan my day when I wake up and just kind of remember things from breakfast, what I need to get done, and go from there.
Are the things that you think of, sorry for the cattail, are the things you're thinking of more towards your goals or just kind of a day by day?
Yeah, it kind of fits into towards my objectives, the career objectives, but they're definitely day by day steps to get towards that goal.
And that's okay. That's good. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, I definitely use mine because I will forget if it's not written down. So I definitely use my calendar quite a bit, and then the reminders app on iPhones, because that one will like literally set if I have something really important to do, I can set an alarm for that. So I definitely use both of those daily.
Good. Do you find that when you set those alarms and you set those events, that you have a block, like an hour or 30 minutes of, hey, Melanie's going to work on help desk tickets, and then you take a 5-minute break, and then the next 30 minutes would be Melanie's going to be on a learning platform learning about Security Plus. Examples.
I could probably use it a little bit better like that. Yeah, I don't really block out the time too much, but I do set like alarms, but yeah, probably blocking out the time like that would be more helpful.
Now, with Outlook, be careful. One of my lessons learned with Outlook is if you block it as busy and people try to schedule meetings, like your boss tries to schedule a meeting with you and you're all busy, it's going to frustrate your boss. So be very careful with that. That's if you use Outlook. If you use Gmail and it's your personal phone, that's not necessarily an issue.
Yeah.
Probably one of the other advice I would give is be very flexible. Don't be tight. Be a little bit vulnerable here. My wife gets on me for trying to get a tight agenda for the day, and she's more of a spontaneous, free-spirited person. Make sure you work alongside with your family and other people that are important to you from there. That other guiding advice from there. Thank you, Melanie. Twyla.
Yes. For me, I really need a calendar. Right now, I only use my calendar for doctor's appointments.
That's
and
fine.
it's very bad. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Because I got 2 jobs and I'm a full-time student, so I do need to make a calendar because I be forgetting a lot of stuff. And then I'm like, wait, what I was supposed to do? I need to write stuff down, so I got to start using my calendar more.
Yes. I was kind of reading around this morning, looking at different curriculums, and one of the things I like about University of Maryland is their first computer science class, which is the object-oriented programming class. They know they're teaching it to freshmen and first, second year students. So they link to a website, and if I find that website again, I'll post it on our group. And what they say is, yes, your very first day, you should label all your appointments, all your events for the semester. And then once you're done with the important events like doctor's appointments, birthdays, family stuff, all that, you go through your syllabuses, and then in red, you put your project deadlines on your calendar, and then in green, you put your exam dates on your calendar, and then you schedule from there. And they like the digital ones better because you can go hour by hour. You'll start to see when you'll schedule your classes, you'll start to see where your white spaces are, and those white spaces are there to help you determine studying time. When is it good to study? And it's also helpful to see where you're going to be jam-packed and for the week, and where you're going to be light, and you can flex your studying from there.
Yeah, I got to get on it because I be all over the place sometimes.
Yes. That's not a problem.
I can share too, Chris. For those of you who don't know me that well, I have a wife who is on disability, former PK engineer, security engineer with DOD, but she's been out of work for several years because she has spinal issues. In addition, last year I was literally managing my sister's estate because she was in a home for a while. She's gotten better now. But so I had the CS-Sensei going on. I had, my regular stuff going on. So what I found was best for me was I use the calendar on my phone, which is tied to my Gmail account. All right. And then when I have things, literally somebody contacted me in July and said, hey, can you give a presentation in September? I'm like, I'm never going to remember that if I don't put it somewhere. So I put everything onto my Gmail calendar, and then I share with my wife, my sister, and my office. So I share with my federal email address so that it shows up on my work calendar as well. And that helps me. Also, another trick that I learned is that if something is kind of far out, a month away or something, but I don't want to forget it, I will set a reminder for 1 week before the actual date so that when it gets closer, I get reminded about it. And that seems to help me. And my sister, these days, she's like, yeah, feel free to share with me. I probably won't do anything with it, but it's good to know that if I need to have you take me to an appointment or whatever, that I know your schedule. And so that's just a suggestion. Again, I do it on my phone and then share with my office rather than trying to do it in my office for my personal stuff. I keep my personal stuff off and then just sort of inform my office calendar. And I don't feel any conflict by doing it that way. Just my thoughts.
Good thoughts. One of the things you want to consider, especially if you're seeking an entry-level job in cybersecurity, is blocking off at least, for our busy folks here, 2 hours per week dedicated to job searching and networking. And that could be job searching, looking for your entry-level role, and the next hour could be you're on LinkedIn connecting with people and connecting with companies to see what's out there and what's available. And use that 2-hour time block for the busy professionals and busy students. It's never too early to go ahead and search for a job. And one of the big things I want to tell you is, even if you're like still in the middle of school and you're still employed, that's still a good time to say, hey, I want to look for my entry-level position, but make sure you block that off as your white space 2 hours of time. You can do more, and you're probably going to see you're not going to have time, but try to find time to perform that job hunt. Otherwise, if you're just too busy training or too busy doing other things but not actually hunting for a job, it's not going to be easy to get an entry-level job from there. And that would be my suggestion to you. The worst thing you want, and I do apologize for some of our mentees who are in this position, and I'm sorry, my apologies, and my heart breaks for you, and I want to give good spirits towards you. You don't want to be unemployed and looking for a job at this point. You really do want to be hunting while you're still in the middle of something, in the middle of training or looking for your next promotion, or if you're in the middle of work. That's the better time to be hunting versus, hey, I'm unemployed, I'm desperate, I'm looking. And that will help you from not making bad decisions on false ads or getting scammed from there. I'm not saying go job searching in the middle of your work day or in the middle of class. That's unethical. That's not good. Abuse of time. You want to treat your calendar as your money and your budget and how much time you're budgeting. That's the point of what you're going to get at. And what I suggest for the mentees here is dedicate at least 2 hours to the week if you're busy with school and work, but at least have 2 hours looking for your next position that could be the entry-level cybersecurity position, and block that off and do the duties and tasks at that time.
Chris, I have another suggestion.
Yes.
That is all sensational stuff. It's also helpful to use that time to study job vacancy announcements, even those that you don't believe you qualify for, because that will allow you to look at these vacancy announcements in relation to what you've put on your resume, so that you can craft your resume a little more closely to the job vacancy announcement, so when the next one comes up, all you have to do is pull the trigger. It's happened with me many times. I'm trying to learn better, but I see a job vacancy and I'm like, oh great, I need to go dust off my resume. Wouldn't it be great if you were actually ahead of that loop and didn't have to jump into a frantic, oh, I got to cancel my kid's soccer game because I have to go work on my resume. No, when you have the time, that's when you should be working on reviewing your resume and trying to make it look nice and shiny, professional, and like I was sharing with some of the mentees, make it reflect your personality. Make it show your excitement and enthusiasm if you can. And then when the vacancy announcement shows up, all you have to do is click the submit button and you're good. Thank you.
How often do you suggest updating from there? Would you do that like weekly or monthly or quarterly?
Yeah, I'd recommend an hour a week to spend on reviewing job vacancy announcements and comparing it against your resume. It's going to take a little while to get that resume up to speed, but then after that, you should just be trimming, moving things around, and that sort of thing. Take the time now before you get frantic, before you're like, oh man, I have to finish my resume by Monday. start while you still have time to sit and examine your resume over a cup of coffee and relax and say, if I were the hiring manager, how would I look to me? You know, you can do those self-assessments far more easily when you're not pressured time-wise. So yeah, I'd say an hour a week, just set aside for, you know, job vacancy announcements and looking at it in terms of my resume.
Very good. What do you guys think about doing this plan or doing this activity and making sure you have dedicated time? Thoughts?
Yeah, like I said earlier, Sunday, like I do my, you know, the spam reports on Sunday. Sunday is like my day to get things done, so I could definitely take 2 hours on Sunday to look for jobs, update my resume, and everything.
Good, thank you, Melanie.
Me too. I try to pick a day out of the week that I just like concentrate on my resume, and I like to get my calendar together to kind of get me on the right path.
I also find that when I set aside time, I am more likely to do it, because I say, oh yeah, tomorrow is my, like Melanie was saying, tomorrow is my resume day, or something like that. That is always helpful because you set your mind toward it. And just and this was, I'm just pointing out, I recommended 1 hour a week. Melanie responded and said, I'm going to do 2 hours on Sunday. She literally doubled the suggestion, and you can do that early. So again, so you're not frantically trying to catch up. Set your own schedule. Don't feel like you've failed if you've missed it, but just commit each time to say, I owe this to myself. Yep.
I agree.
Very, very good.
What you're going to find is when you do this process, it actually transfers over to your occupation. I actually write down what are my priorities for me, where my main duties are. Close tickets, look at software contracts, respond to customer emails, and all my asset management duties. And then I sit there and say, hey, when I've done these, my main day-to-day duties, this is what I need to do to look for my next steps, my next chapter in my work. And I will set at least an hour on Friday afternoons where it's quiet and there's nothing going on. And I go look for the next level and say, what are these agencies asking for at the next level? Oh, we need project manager, PMP. Okay, yep. Oh, we need CISSP. Yep, okay. And then develop my plan from my calendar, my professional development plan from my calendar, and then dedicate time to training from there. So this calendar and this goal system helps, in your time management, helps you grow professionally as well. And it's a great soft skill to have to mention.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that one, Chris. If I am an interviewing manager, like I said, I've hired hundreds of people over the course of my years, and that means I've reviewed over 1,000 resumes. The thing that impresses me is to see someone who walks in the door looking like they've got things already under their own management. That means I don't have to teach you, or I don't have to hope that you'll be able to manage yourself. You actually demonstrate it. Have any of you ever heard of black and red notebooks? Black and red. Yeah, I think you can buy it at Staples. It is actually a notebook or portfolio. It's a brand. But I learned this from my vice president. She was talking to me and she said, if you want to impress, walk in with a black and red notebook that you've already been writing into. And like when you're in the middle of your interview and the interviewer says, do you have any questions for me? You say, yes, I do. And you turn to that page. That has just demonstrated that you know how to manage your time. Yeah, I looked at this and I came up with questions. You don't just do stuff off the cuff. It is part of a program that you set for yourself. I'll give one more example. When I was in the Pentagon, I was working help desk. I was the help desk program manager, and there were other companies that had other support folks running in and out of our help desk. You know, the VIP support team or the server team or whatever. And there was this one lady that came in, and she was with another company, but I watched her. And she would come in, go straight to her desk, open up her portfolio that she had been carrying with her, and start going down the list of customers that she knew she had to call to do follow-ups for. And she didn't waste a second on what she was doing. She would walk quickly and with purpose. She would sit down, pop open that portfolio, start at the top, pull out her pen, dial the numbers, start talking to that person, finish up, cross that person off, go to the next person, start making phone calls. This was all self-driven. Nobody was saying, hey, what about? Hey, have you done? Or whatever. And I said to myself, you know, this person is going to be a vice president someday. How do you think these senior executives, you know, can handle everything? It's because they develop that practice early. Practice it while you're young. Practice it while you're getting started, so that when this stuff really hits you, you already have a plan of action to handle it. Time management is essential when you get higher up or when you get busy, like me, where at one point I was managing 4 estates and this mentorship team and my full-time job. You know, make time and set aside time, and then you owe it to yourself to work in that time for yourself. That's all I got. Thank you.
Oh, great, Scotty. I put in the chat the black and red notebooks that Scotty was talking about that are sold on Amazon, just to give you an idea of a visual of what they look like. I've not used those before. I may want to order one and try one out and see how that works. Is it any different than a regular journal, Scotty?
Nope.
No. Mm-hmm.
Nope. Back in the day, remember, I'm dating myself here, but we used to have those 7 Habits notebooks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whoever
Covey.
wrote, oh yeah, Stephen Covey. That was the big thing. The most important thing is not the system, but that you have a system and you get practiced at using it. And, you know, whatever your system, it shows that you have organization, and it also shows your interviewer that they don't have to worry about you missing stuff because, oh, I forgot. You know?
That's probably the most awkward thing to say in an interview is, oh, I forgot. I don't remember. You probably don't want to say that in front of interviewers if that question comes up. Hey, do you have any questions? Oh, I did, but I forgot. Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. Yeah, that's perfect. I did put the link to those journals there. I tell the groups that I lead that one of the first things you should always have in your possession when you come to meetings and you come to different events is have a journal and take good notes. And there's plenty of YouTube videos out of how to take good notes, but that's another skill, great skill to have, is having that journal and being able to organize and take notes and be able to reflect back on what you have. So great. I did find a website about building time management skills and quick tips for those struggling with time management. And those 9 quick tips are very great tips to have. And one of the first things is what we talk about is having that calendar to plan ahead. But Ron, this is a good one for you. Tip number 2, because you mentioned this before, make a daily to-do list to make sure you get things accomplished, and that can clear your foggy memories. I don't know about you guys. I'm 45 years old. I've survived COVID. I got so much going on. I get the brain fog all the time. But writing things down and making sure they're there ready to go and having that to-do list day by day, that is going to help with the brain fog a lot. Microsoft OneNote is available where I work, and that's one I use. Another great tool to use, but be very careful what you share because it's up on the cloud, is Notion. And you can use that as a note taker as well. But again, I'll advise caution there to be very careful with what you put out there. It's available on the cloud, and anybody can pick it up from there. So be very careful. What else here? So within the 9 tips, priorities. Which is more important? I like to ask the group, how would you determine what's the most important priority? Because you're going to get, when you make the to-do list, it gets really big real quickly. Your number of tasks you have to do. How do you determine which one's more important than the other? And the website that I put on the chat provides a decent method, but I want to ask the group here, how do you determine what's more important than the other?
I've honestly always struggled with that. Usually on my list there's several important things, so that's something that I've struggled with. But I guess probably numbering them, like in terms of like, okay, I need to work on my resume. That's pretty important, so I put like a number 1. But yeah, I would say numbering it, but I do struggle with that.
Problem with numbering, you'll say, hey, writing the resume is number 1. Then you realize that you have, I don't want to get too personal here, Melanie, but let's say you have something family-oriented. Does that take precedence over your resume?
I would say probably, yeah. Yeah. So that is where I struggle. It's like, oh no, this thing's actually more important.
What if you're in help desk and you have on your list, hey, I want to work on my resume for an hour block at work during lunch, but then you have a hot ticket that comes in, VIP.
Well, obviously the ticket would come first.
Yes.
It's work related.
Yes. The 9 quick tips that's on the chat website suggest that you do ABC.
Okay.
What I do from a help desk standpoint is it's a separate list. I call it routines and rules. And I have a rule that if there's tickets in my queue at 10 a.m., because it's the first thing on my performance plan, no matter what's my schedule, I do that. Those are called A tasks. If there's a ticket on my queue, pick it out, take care of it, get done. When all that work's done, then I can go ahead and work on my white space from there. That's the suggestion of, hey, A is a high priority, B is okay, if I get it done today, yay, but if I don't get it done today, it's not the end of the world. And then there's the C priority of, hey, if I don't get it done this week, it can wait for that year from there. So make sure you have that set rules of what is considered a priority versus not a priority, because when you make that big to-do list, you're going to find out that number 1 is going to get replaced by another more urgent task and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's without going into the lecture about importance and urgency. something to help you along the line.
Okay, thank you. I think lettering sounds better than numbering. I don't know why I never thought about that, but thank you.
So not only knowing about priority, knowing when to switch gears. And that's what we're talking about earlier. Hey, when does life and your boss determine which task is more important? How many of you suffer from procrastination?
I do.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yep. One of the tips they bring up is noticing and dealing how to deal with procrastination and to notice it. And that's very tricky. And I struggle with it personally. And one of the best things I can tell you is, hey, you see that deadline on your calendar. I'll give you the best example, and it's a struggle. I have required trainings that are required by our personnel management and from different agencies. These are the not to click on link trainings, cyber safety awareness, privacy, to name a few. There's also the HR ones that are required for us to take in plain language, and they're set dates. To help me prevent procrastination on those, because all they are our online courses, I take the due date from when I get the first email that says, or when I notice it on my learning platform, what that due date is, put that on my calendar. Then at the halfway point between today, when I got notice of it, and when it's due, schedule the hour at the halfway point if there's an empty spot or the closest empty spot to it. And that's the day I take it, and I make all the trainings from there. And that has helped me with procrastination. It's a project management skill, if you want to call it that, to know that, hey, it has a beginning and has the end, and here's what you need to do in between. But that helps me with procrastination is, hey, I know about it, I know the end date, put the middle task and schedule them in and break it apart one by one. And that's helped me with procrastination. Anybody in the group has suggestions how you cope with procrastination or how you deal with it?
I deal with procrastination. I just go ahead and just do it, just to get it out the way.
Yep. And some people do that, Twyla. I used to do that too for a bit, where if I get it first thing and I know I have a free time, just get it done, get it over with. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
I'll share. Both I and my manager at the office have this habit of showing up really early for meetings, like 15 minutes early for meetings. And on the outside, it looks like we are being extremely ambitious or proactive or whatever, but we both admit to each other, the reason I do this is I'm gonna forget it. And so what I do is I, get into the Teams room or Zoom call or whatever early so that I don't forget it. So it's literally a compensation that other people around me look at and say, wow, this guy's really energetic. No, I'm just trying to keep from failing again, like I always do. So allow your compensations to work for you. Like I said, I show up 15 minutes early for a Teams call or 10 minutes early or whatever because I don't want to miss it. And I have found myself missing it or coming in so late and saying, oh, gee, sorry, everybody. You'd never want to be that person that shows up at the very last minute. Everyone's time is valuable in that meeting. And when you're the last person in the door and they're like, okay, great, Scotty has shown up, now we can start the meeting, that's not a place you want to stay. So I compensate, and I compensate in a big way. I get there really early, and hey, while I have time, I'm sitting around doing extra work or catching up on my email or whatever. But it looks like I'm super ambitious, but it's not. It's just a compensation. So, do what works for you and provides the least impact to others, but there are some things you can do that literally put you in a positive light that you did not even intend. And you don't belong. People are like, wow, Scotty, you're so time sensitive. No, I have been too late to too many meetings, and I won't let that happen again. And I don't say that out loud. So I just look all kinds of ambitious. I arrived here early for today's meeting. Sometimes I'm 30 minutes early. Why? Because I don't want to miss it. Honestly, that's why I do it. So just my suggestion there.
And one thing I'll add on is when you come in, when you learn these lessons learned and you start coming in early, you'll start to learn how much buffer time you need to prepare for those meetings or to prepare for those tasks. And you'll find out that you'll start scheduling that buffer time needed to take care of it. That's great, Scotty. Anybody else with time management? We're getting close to the end of time. Hope this is helpful for you guys too. Soft skills are challenging to teach sometimes, but I hope this time management and having your calendar and having prepared will be helpful for your future in your career. Questions, concerns, comments, folks? Good morning, Herman. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
You were talking about how you're deciding whether to work on something personal or you had a VIP ticket. And this was during your lunch break. Is that common to work during your lunch break?
When you work in an IT support role, there is what's called a service level agreement where it has to be responded in a certain amount of time. And that time comes in when, hey, that call is there. Now, the good news here is, and I'll be careful with my language here, I do have a contracting group that more than likely deals with those tickets, but I will get DMs from time to time during my lunch while learning from the training platform and say, hey, Chris, I need help. And part of my job is to assist them when they need assistance, so I do have to answer them. They normally, Ron, for me, from my average, don't take longer than, I think the longest one I ever had was 15, and it was the most finicky thing in the world. We realized just escalate the ticket over to the third tier, and I'm third tier, but the actual third tier technician. And the third tier technician goes, yep, I got it. Boom, it was solved and resolved. But my average would be not even 5 minutes. It's just quicker to answer than ignore it and say 1 p.m. It can wait till 1 p.m. And I do have that judgment and that power. My best advisement would be read what's required of you and understand what's required of you, and go from there and do a strategy from there.
Okay.
Because it's quite easy to sit there and say, I'm in the middle of lunch, guys. Can I wait till 1? And that's probably the better way to advise it and address it. But if it can't wait until 1, or there's rules in place where it cannot wait until 1 p.m., I'm using 1 p.m. as an example, the end of your lunch break, discretion is a better part of being in trouble for not responding to a ticket or to a requirement. That's advice I can give. I know a lot of people, lunch breaks are precious, and you block off that hour.
Yeah.
What I've done before is if I absolutely don't want to be disturbed and I want to call that my lunch hour, turn off my Microsoft Teams and then turn it back on when I'm back on.
Yeah, I thought that was like a law that everyone in federal government had their lunch break and you didn't have to do work during that time period. But,
there's also, my understanding, what's called an exempt employee.
Okay.
But I'm not a lawyer here.
Let me share a little bit. Having been a program manager for a number of years, there are federal laws that require, if you have worked a certain amount of time, that your employer is required to give you time. The thing that you need to do is help your employer be successful. So, for example, if I always take from 11:30 till 12 for my lunch, and all of a sudden something really big came up, I could get a real positive vibe with my supervisor by saying, okay, I'll take my lunch break at 12 and go do this now. That shows, number one, I'm not trying to break the law, but number two, I'm trying to be flexible so that number three, my boss can be successful. You know, you are, the law says that you have certain amounts of time depending upon the number of hours you work, but it doesn't always say you have to take lunch from 12 to 12:30 or something like that. See, so that's where, and oh, by the way, when you do it, make sure, and this goes for everything, make sure you communicate and agree before you do it, so that your boss doesn't get into a habit of sneaking into your cubicle and saying, hey, I need you to go do this. Hey, I need you to go do this. Hey, I need you to go do this, without paying any attention to your time as well. Negotiate with your supervisor and say, you know, hey, I'm doing this and this. Can I move this over to here and get this now? You know, would that work? Or something like that, rather than, nope, I'm on break, you know, with your feet still up on the desk. You know, that there are ways to accomplish the same thing and look like a superhero rather than the person who ignores everything going on in the office and says, nope, time for my break. You know, there are ways to do it, and everybody wins.
That's Scotty. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll have to research those ways because I do like my lunch.
I think what Scotty's trying to say is if you communicate it to your boss positively and you come to an agreement on what needs to be done and when you can have that time for lunch to make sure you take care of yourself, no harm, no foul here. It's a communication. You keep it positive, you get the work done, you make your boss happy. Great. And that was my intent, and my original answer was, hey, something comes down the line, I know if I become and say no, it's going to go back to my boss, and my boss is going to come back and say, Chris, come on. And it becomes a bigger problem versus, hey, it's only going to be 5 minutes to address it. My boss will be happy if I address it. 5 minutes doesn't kill me in the end. Great talk, guys. Hope that it was helpful for you. And I see it's 9:01, and I'm going to respect your time. Already took 1 minute away from you, and this is a time management topic. But I'll stay on for a little bit if you want to ask anything further questions, but you're free to leave, and thank you for coming. And please, 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 incident response, report those spams. And we're looking for people to write slides for our speakers bureau, and please inquire with Scotty and myself if you're interested. Thank you.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.